Hi folks, I'm Steve Hindy for Showing Animals Respect and Kindness. On September 6, 2020, there was what was advertised to be a debate between a cockfighter named B.L. Kozad and me in Morgantown, Kentucky. Kozad made the debate challenge last July, and I accepted, but for weeks Kozad refused to give the address of the debate other than Morgantown, Kentucky. Kozad talks a lot and talks big. He initially insinuated that he could get the Attorney General of Kentucky to moderate the debate. We had a good laugh over that. That fell through, of course. Apparently, even though it was Kozad who made the debate challenge, he didn't really want to. 2 days before the event, we finally got an address. Kozad had promised to have a professional video company document the debate, but that didn't happen. That means there were no microphones on the two of us, and the room was very echoey. Shark's cameras actually did better than Kozad's, so that's what we're posting. Kozad never really wanted to debate. He was actually looking for an opportunity to fleece his own supporters by selling them propaganda about his warped views of the United States Constitution, none of which hold any water except in Mr. Kozad's head. This is a long video, almost 2 hours. I don't expect anyone to watch the whole thing, but we felt we needed to make it available. I'm Steve Hindy for Showing Animals Respect and Kindness.
Okay, partner, 12:05. You ready to roll?
Sounds ready. Get that camera set up.
Yeah, you said 12:05.
So you just stand there and be quiet.
We're ready.
Until I get the camera.
Is that the professional?
For coming here today.
I'm asking, is that the professional you promised? The lady?
I hired her.
I'm sorry?
You asked me
Now.
who hired her?
Okay, it's just not the usual professional equipment I would see. He said he was going to have a professional videographer. It's not the usual professional equipment.
This lady has a business here in town.
Now, how about the moderator?
She's a
So
local
you just,
business.
Moderator?
you just stand there and be really quiet.
Is the moderator here?
Until we get started. Now you want
We are starting, 12 o'clock. Let's go. I can't wait.
I know, but you're fixing to wait for just a minute until we get done. All right, and once we get started, you're not gonna like the way this comes
Oh,
out.
I know.
I promise you.
That's why I'm holding on to the chair. I can barely stand on my own.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
So
you
wait
wait
till
till
you
you
start.
start. Go ahead, big boy.
Now, okay, first I want to thank everybody for coming. Second is, if you all indulge, I'd like to ask a prayer, say a prayer, and then we will begin our debate, okay? So if you all please stand. Lord, we thank you for allowing us to be here today. We thank you for having the privilege of being born in America, where we have a constitution, where our rights that are derived from our God are promised and guaranteed to each individual. We thank you that America is a constitutional republic, where we are absolutely endowed by our Creator with our unalienable rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, as guaranteed by the Declaration of Independence, and as secured by the Constitution of the United States. We hope that this debate will bring forward the truth and help everybody understand what this fight is really about, because it is about the freedoms and the human rights of our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren that are being taken away from us using the excuse of animals and environmental protections under a program called the United Nations Agenda 21 and the Green New Deal. Lord, let all of us leave here today. We thank you for allowing us to arrive here safely. We pray that you allow all of us to get home safely. Thank you, Lord. Bless us in our debate and allow us the freedoms that America has given us to be passed along to our children and our grandchildren. Amen.
All right, BL,
Now,
I was respectful to you. I'd like to say my own part of the prayer, if that's all right with you. And carry on with my prayer. You can stand or not. It's up to you. Dearest Jesus, Holy Son of God, I ask that you look down on us today. Look into the hearts of each and every one of us as we remember you are the creator of everything. The earth, we humans, and all of the animals. Jesus, you are the Prince of Peace, a God of compassion. I ask that you try to turn the hearts of those who don't care about the suffering of your animals. And you bring to them light and love and consideration, that having the power to do something like commit cruelty is no reason to go forward, that they follow in your path, not the path of those who are self-serving and those who are evil. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
are we live on your stream? Are we live on your stream?
Are we live? We're live.
Are you live over here too?
We're all going.
Okay. Do not stop your live feed. Okay, got a opening statement.
Is there a moderator? You promised a moderator.
Yes, the moderator's right there.
You're the moderator. Okay, do you...
Now, my opening statement is this, the 3 minutes. I'm a licensed private investigator. Mr. Hindi has tried very hard to vilify and demonize me in an attempt to convince people to ignore the factual information I'm explaining to those Mr. Hindi is attempting to terrorize, the Gamecock farmers, and those that are mistakenly choosing to support him. To those people that donate money to Mr. Hindi, I would like to point out and explain how you have made yourself liable to any criminal acts that Mr. Hindi has committed and any criminal acts he may commit in the future. There are 4 very specific federal statutes which Mr. Hindi has already violated and could face prosecution as a terrorist under. Title 18, United States Code, Section 241, collusion to violate rights. Section 242, deprivation of rights under the color of law. Section 247, destruction of religious property and obstruction of free exercise of religious beliefs. And Section 43 of the Animal Enterprise Terrorism Act. I encourage you to look up all those and find out, look at them for yourself. Mr. Hindi is not a law enforcement officer, and therefore he is not an officer of the court. He is a private citizen that has mistakenly has an overbloated opinion of himself. The videos he posts displays his own criminal acts. He's just not intelligent enough to understand that fact that he is violating the law. When Mr. Hindi goes onto private property and plants cameras, it is no different than if I would sneak into your house and plant cameras in your bathroom to watch your wife go to the toilet. This is actually called criminal trespass, with intent to intimidate, threaten, and harass. The FBI has consistently listed the animal rights terrorist organizations as the most domestic terrorist threat facing America today. And it goes all the way back to 1991 when FBI Assistant Director John Lewis testified in front of the Senate Judiciary hearing, and again in 2004 and in 2012, where they testified, the FBI testified that animal rights terrorists like Mr. Henry were the most dangerous domestic threat facing America today. Mr. Hindi is attacking gamecock farmers, pigeon farmers, rodeo organizers, hunters, fishermen, and other animal agriculture industries, and animal enterprise animal enterprises. If you are donating money to Mr. Hindy, like the Humane Farming Association, etc., then you have made yourself a sponsor of his actions. I encourage every single donor to research the federal laws I cited and reconsider your support of Mr. Hindy. Because just as the FBI is currently following the money trail and investigating those that are financing the Antifa organization for terrorism, so too can the FBI follow the money trail back to you. And remember, there are several people in federal prison today as sponsors of terrorism for sending money and even cell phones to ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Syrian rebels for sponsoring terrorism. Don't let yourself be set up and put in that situation by this guy right here.
Mr. Kozad, time's up.
Okay, now you're real, I appreciate that.
We're all real.
Let's see. First of all, folks, assuming that you're all involved in cockfighting, what part of illegal don't you understand? You're here with a guy who's talking about Constitution and all this kind of thing, and rights and all that, living outside of the law. Are you kidding me? By the way, those 3 deputies here, you said there were going to be 3 deputies. Are they here?
They've got hidden cameras out there looking at this place.
Ooh, that's got me worried even more.
Yeah, I know.
If you're going to claim to be a patriot, an American citizen, that means you live within the laws. Does it not? Is there an argument about that? Is there really? Of course there's not.
Actually, the definition of patriot is to not abide
You're the
by
moderator.
just laws.
You're the moderator.
And you told
Well,
them
you want to talk about terrorism? Let's imagine that somebody, please, you had your
He has the floor.
Yeah, I understand.
Let's imagine that somebody, you know what I call terrorism? Somebody calling up a courthouse and saying, I'm going to start shooting up courthouses. Can we agree that's terrorism? Yeah, that's terrorism. I've got here an affidavit for arrest warrant on one B.L. Kozad from about less than 2 years ago, where he called up, he wanted to change a court date. He wanted to change a court date. And the clerk said, you're going to have to come in and talk to the judge. Not an unheard of situation, is it? Well, B.L. said, I want to get this right, said he's going to start shooting up courthouses, just like they do in Hungary. The woman, of course, is upset. She's not used to getting threatened with having her place shot up. So she calls an investigator. Detective Pollard spoke with Kozad by phone after the fact, of course, giving Mr. Kozad a chance to calm down and consider what he had done. Kozad had, quote, admitted to making the call to the municipal courthouse and making a reference to courts in general in the United States and how they could be like Hungary. Kozad said it was just some snowflake who works there who should not be working there anyways. Pollard asked Kozad if the clerk talked to him about a warrant, and Kozad said, I'm not going to jail. I won't be arrested. And yes, I carry a gun at all times. Oof. Hell's going to be paid when somebody approaches Mr. Kozad, except actually, no. This is his booking photo right here. The guy's a lot of talk. Let him talk some more. I'm done. And I'll take care of it then.
Now, even the district attorney, okay, just put that to rest real quick. Even the district attorney knew that the accusations made against me were bullshit, okay, and dismissed charges, and I didn't even go to court for it. As a matter of fact, I didn't even pay court costs, period. They waived it off, okay? Now, if you want to talk about the supreme law, or the law, well, the supreme law of the land is the Constitution of the United States. And Article 6, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution of the United States says that any law that is in conflict with the Constitution cannot withstand. That means any law that is in conflict with the Constitution is actually an illegal law. That means the enforcement of the illegal law is actually an illegal act by the government. Today we're watching the Constitution in America be destroyed by communist indoctrinated left-wing organizations. Democrat leaders sit by, and even some of the Republicans sit by, allowing and encouraging the attacks on American business owners, homeowners, and destruction of private property through arson, rioting, looting across the urban areas of America. Meanwhile, the animal rights non-government organizations like Mr. Henry's has been so successful with dehumanizing attacks, vilifying American gamecock farmers and hunters and fishermen, etc. They convinced our government officials to enact statutes making criminals of people involved in America's farming and ranching activities. These animal rights organizations are encouraging and even demanding government officials make raids, rip our families apart, point guns at us, and create situations where government agents may hurt, cripple, and even kill farmers and ranchers using the unconstitutional excuse that the duty of the government is protecting livestock from the farmers and ranchers that own the livestock. Today I'll explain during this debate that the animal rights laws are all unconstitutional violations of human rights. They violate the 1st, 4th, 5th, 8th, 9th, 10th, buying through the amendments, buying through the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And this is being done in support of a global communist agenda called United Nations Agenda 21, a plan which which can be seen in the policies commonly referred to as the Green New Deal.
Thank you.
3 minutes on that is up. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take 1 second. Please keep your comments to yourself. Let me and him argue.
Who was it that just banned cockfighting in the territories? Donald J. Trump. Is he a communist? No. Decidedly not. Mr. Kozad talks about animal groups demanding things from Donald Trump. If we did, it wouldn't work. He talks about how cops might kill rooster farmers. I'm unaware of so much as a single instance of that. Not one. But if you break the law, whether it's cockfighting, whether it's jaywalking,
Criminal trespass.
there you go, criminal trespass. I like you more each time. And the cops come to deal with you, and you resist, yeah, bad things can happen. Do we actually disagree with that? A lot of people don't disagree with it when the cops end up shooting a black man. They don't seem to have a problem with it then, because by God, he was getting into his car and he had a knife in the car. That doesn't seem to be a problem then. But if you're an illegal cockfighter, is there a reason why the police, if you resist them, should not take you into custody by any means that they need to? That's how cops do their job, isn't it? That's what they do. If a cop wants to stop me because I've got an illegal sticker on my vehicle and I resist him, he may end up shooting me. That's why you don't break the law. And people, cockfighting is illegal throughout the United States and in the territories and in the District of Columbia. Thank you.
Actually, like I said, the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. Any law, and the cockfighting law is in violation of the Constitution, so therefore the cockfighting law is illegal. It's an illegal law. Cockfighting cannot be a crime. Now, Mr. Henry needs to answer 4 questions here today before we even get into this debate. Does Mr. Henry, do you understand that America is a constitutional republic?
Is this
And
your
do you
son?
believe in and support the United States Constitution as the supreme law of the land in the United States? Yes or no? Are you and your animal rights organization a communist front group that considers the Constitution a relic that should be discarded in support of a socialist democracy? Do you acknowledge that law enforcement officers use force to make people comply with statutes, and the government force always includes the possibility of using deadly force? And finally, since the ultimate question here is government agents making raids to potentially force people, Gamecock farmers, in Mr. Hindy's opinion, over chickens, the question is how many American Gamecock farmers does Mr. Hindy advocate as the acceptable number that government agents can kill to force Americans into Mr. Hindy's opinion regarding chickens, that the Gamecock farmers actually own all property rights and God-given dominion of? 4 questions there. Answer them.
I'm not here to answer your questions. I'm here to debate. I think I've answered one anyway. Are we a communist front group? I don't know. Are you a Martian? Come on. Come on. I'm a business owner. I've been a business owner for over 30 years. I make money. I like money. Do I take care of people when I can? Yeah. It doesn't make me a communist. Problem with guys like B.L. Kozad is that anything that he wants, like he said, okay, claims to be patriotic, but he doesn't follow the law because he says it's unconstitutional. Okay, I got a neighbor likes to drive drunk. We take him down. It's unconstitutional. Violates my 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 9th, 10th Amendment for me to not be able to drink and drive. You know how far that's going to go? It's going to go as far as the case that some fella out east, and I'm sorry, I am heartbroken. I was supposed to have it with me today. I don't find it. But I'm going to post it, I promise you, who made virtually the same argument as Mr. Kozad. Banning cockfighting violates and he listed them right off, just like he just did. Listed them right off. And took it beyond the initial court. He got up, I think, to the appellate court level. And the judges slapped them down one after the other. Baseless, unfounded, knocked them down. Every single point. Look, folks. Cockfighting legally is never coming back. Wrap your head around it as best you can. And I do promise you, I don't want to see you other than in this room. I don't want to see you at a cockfight. I don't like to see people arrested. I don't like going after Americans. I have a lot of love for this country, and I have a lot of love for Americans, law-abiding Americans, because that's what we need, now more than ever, law-abiding Americans. And if you're involved in cockfighting, you're not law-abiding. And I would suggest you violate every tenet of that prayer that you made earlier today.
The First Amendment. Congress should, well, hold on, let me hold on to the First Amendment for a second, okay? Some people have never heard of the Green New Deal or Agenda 21, okay? It all comes back to paganism. The Pagan Federation International says that paganism is a nature-worshiping religion, okay? Nature-worshiping religion. Well, nature is not just the environment. Most people have heard of the environmental side of Agenda 21, where it talks about global warming, global cooling, climate change, and those are excuses to violate human rights. That's Agenda 21. Agenda 21 says that they want to use nature to destroy human rights. They use nature to put nature over human rights. Nature is not just the environment, though. Nature also includes animals. And the animal rights laws are also part of the United Nations Agenda 21 plan. Understand that in reality, the UN Agenda 21 plan is a plan based upon paganism, forcing people into the religious beliefs of paganism. Animal worship is part of the UN Agenda 21 that's being forced by us today. I encourage everybody, if you do not know what Agenda 21 is, if you've never heard of the Green New Deal, research it and learn what's actually behind what's being forced on the American people.
But are we here to debate cockfighting? Agenda 21, you know what it is? I don't know what it is. You know what it is? What's he talking about? I thought we were here to debate cockfighting. He brought up the Constitution. Thank you, Mr. Kozad. The Constitution. He knows that banning cockfighting violates the Constitution. He knows it. I believe you said you spent 30 years studying it. Is that right? And yet, somehow it has managed to evade his reality. His sense of reality has managed to evade 50 governors who cycle, 50 legislators who cycle, Democrat and Republican, and sometimes Libertarian or whatever, hundreds of judges and appellate judges. I mean, we're all looking at the same Constitution, aren't we? We're all reading the same. It's all in English. We're all reading it. He knows, because he studied for 30. What law license does he have? Is he a judge? Is he a lawyer? Is he a law professor? I don't think so. But there are law professors, and they seem to think that it's all fine. So, 50 changing governors, 50 changing legislators, different parties, judges, and they're not arguing. Only him with his Agenda 21. Let's get back to cockfighting, please, sir.
If you don't know what Agenda 21 is, you can order this book directly from the United Nations website. Okay? I encourage you to order one. Educate yourself so that you can stop speaking out of ignorance. Okay? This copy is mine. It stays here with me. But you can order that book, and once you order that book, you can start studying it and read it, and then you can understand how the unconstitutional cockfighting law is part of the United Nations Agenda 21 plan. The First Amendment of the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of people to peacefully assemble and a petition of the government for redress of grievances. As I just explained to you just a few minutes ago, the UN Agenda 21 uses the environmental laws and the animal rights laws to force paganism on the people of the United States. Understand, the Pagan Federation International says that paganism is a nature-worshipping religion. The animal rights laws are part of paganism. The laws against the gamecock farming and the gamecock farmers is tied to Agenda 21. It is paganism. It is animal worship. Therefore, it is a violation of the very first sentence of the Constitution, the First Amendment of the Constitution. The animal rights laws are making laws respecting the establishment of religion and forcing that religious belief of animal worship and paganism on the people of the United States. Go ahead.
Well, we got something here. Mr. Kozad had a conversation with an associate of mine a few days ago. And he was telling my associate that he was a Nazi. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Nazi. And he said that he should read a report, a study, Understanding Nazi Animal Protection and the Holocaust. Because the Nazis passed animal protection laws. And so that meant that My associate, who happens to be Jewish, is a Nazi. So what happened is we actually did go and study the report. We went and read it, just like you said.
Good.
And we took it a step farther. I believe you said that and as we know, both, one of the authors was Arnold Arluke. We contacted Mr. Arluke and sent him some of Mr. Kozad's postings and told him what he was saying about his study. Mr. Arluke wrote the following. Thanks for all your hard work for animals. I can only imagine how impossibly difficult and frustrating it must be to lock horns with this pro-cockfighting lunatic. The main point in our article was that German culture in the 1930s and 40s redefined the relevant importance of non-human and human animals. Some non-humans were more valuable. And he goes on to explain what he actually wrote. Not the way it was misinterpreted, the way the Constitution is being misinterpreted. You know, if you guys want to talk after this thing is over with, I'll sit there with you for as long as you want. And I'll tell you the truth right from my heart if you'll do the same thing. You thought I wouldn't show up today? Well, I'm here.
Is it going to be the truth like you've been spreading the lies on those videos? Sorry.
As I said, I will be here afterwards, and you can ask any question that you want. Fair enough? Is that fair enough?
It's going to be the truth, buddy.
Is that fair enough?
Please, come on.
So, he has a view, and he has a right to have a view. He has a right to have any opinion that he wants. But I will tell you again, when all the governors and all the legislators and all the judges disagree with him, who are you going to believe?
Okay, next. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. First Amendment also says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Here's America. Okay, America is founded as a constitutional republic. It's founded on the teachings of Jesus Christ. The teachings of Jesus Christ are judge not lest you be judged. Let he who has not sinned cast the first stone. Judgment is mine, saith the Lord. Understand, in Genesis 1:26, the Bible says God created man. And then God gave man dominion over the animals, earth, fish, and fowl. Dominion, the Constitution is written in here. The government is created in here. The purpose of the Constitution is to protect one man's God-given rights from another man. Dominion that God gave us over the animals, earth, fish, and fowl means dominion is control and rule. You have the control and rule over the animals that you own and the earth that you own. No other man has the authority to take that away from you. If they do, then they are attempting to supersede God because they're trying to take your dominion away from you. They're trying to force you into their opinion. We have to remember that at one time, black men and women in America were considered animals. They were down here in this lower tier. They were property. It was only after the Civil War that black men and women were recognized as being man, having the same rights as all other races of men, and residing in the center tier. When you give animals rights, dogs and cats and fish and chickens, etc., you're not raising animals up. You do not have the authority to do that unless you can supersede God and take the dominion away from another man. What you're doing is you're erasing the line between man and animals. You're reducing all men to the status of animals. When you do that, you're replacing God as the source of our rights and the source of our dominion. You're shredding the Declaration of Independence. And what you end up with is this here, a communist government, because now another man is your ruler. He's telling you what you can do, what you cannot do, and what the limit of your dominion is. the government has been taken over and converted into a communist form of government. Adolf Hitler used the exact same animal rights laws to destroy human rights in Nazi Germany.
Well, there you go again. If you don't like cockfighting, you're either a Nazi or a communist. Regarding God, let's remember there's a separation between church and state. We are not a theocracy. You go to Iran for that. I've already talked about the Constitution. I've talked about the judges and the governors. I'm not going to rehash that. The racist posts that you have made so many times, Mr. Kozad, has me kind of surprised that now you're talking about the rights of black Americans. Very glad, but very surprised. Let me take just a little bit of time. Just a little bit. I'll try and make it quick. He wants to talk about Nazis, like the Nazis, because if you care about animals, you somehow become a Nazi. If you're not a communist. Does that make you a Nazi communist, or a commie-Nazi? I don't know. Mohandas Gandhi. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way it treats animals. Cesar Chavez. Obviously, I particularly like this one. Kindness and compassion towards all living beings is a mark of a civilized society. Racism, economic deprival, dogfighting and cockfighting, bullfighting and rodeos are all cut from the same fabric. Violence. I guess we can't disagree about the violence, right? We may disagree about some other aspects of it, but not the violence, which I find incompatible with the Prince of Peace. Albert Schweitzer, we must fight against the spirit of unconscious cruelty with which we treat animals. Animals suffer as we do. True humanity does not allow us to impose such suffering on them. Albert Einstein, if a man aspires toward a righteous life, his first act of abstinence is from injury to animals. Charles Darwin, the love of all creatures is the most noble attribute of man. Francis of Assisi, compassion in which all ethics must take root can only attain its full breadth and depth if it embraces all living creatures and does not limit itself to mankind.
Okay, as far as the separation of church and state, okay, that's taken out of context. It's nowhere in the Constitution. It's taken out of letters that Thomas Jefferson actually wrote to another founding father called the Danbury Letters. In the Danbury Letters, Jefferson was talking about the separation of the duties of the church and the duties of the state. The duties of the church has always been charities and marriages. See, if I give my money to a church and the church gives my money and uses my money for somebody that's less fortunate, that's a charity. If the government takes my money by force, creates a bureaucracy, and then gives some of my money to people that the government determines is less fortunate, that's not charity. That's theft by government. And the marriage, what is a marriage license? A marriage license is when the government, or any kind of license, is when the government takes your rights away from you and then sells your rights back to you. A marriage license was actually first initiated and put into place to keep the races from intermingling. It was a eugenics. Okay, Margaret Sanger was a very prominent person that helped push for the marriage licenses and stuff. If I go down and if I choose to get married and I have to go buy a license, permission from the government to do so, that's simply wrong and it's on its face. As far as a civilized society, a civil society, how civil is any society when it sends government agents out to point guns at a human being to protect chickens? That's not a civilized society. Because if the government's creating a situation where government agents may kill a human being to protect a chicken, that government is actually putting the chicken above human rights and above human lives.
So when the cop goes to bust somebody for whatever it was, that they put counterfeit coins into the parking meter or is driving with tires that don't have enough tread, and the guy, like, starts going ballistic, the perp starts going ballistic, the cop is supposed to go, oh, well, gee, what level of force should I use here? Actually, it would be good if they did that. But in the case of cockfighting, let's remember that there are other things involved here. Weapons. Mr. Kozad always carries a gun. I've seen a number of you with guns in here. So cockfighters carry guns. Police have little problems with people that they're dealing with who are carrying guns. Makes them a little nervous. Doesn't make me nervous. I don't give a damn about his gun or anybody else's gun in here. I don't give a damn about it.
Don't worry, I'll protect you.
I'm sure you would. So,
We'll all protect you.
you start talking about the whole separation of church and state. My point that I'm making, which is, I hope, obvious to even Mr. Kozad here, is that we're obviously not a theocracy. So there is a separation of church and state. It was simply the obvious that was being stated. But what it really comes back to, ladies and gentlemen, is cockfighting. That's what we're supposed to be debating here. Mr. Kozad, of course, is sidestepping and anything else that he can try to use as a diversion. But this is about cockfighting. It is illegal. Even in Kentucky. The law is not as strong as I'd like it to be, but it has been strong enough to roust a number of cockfighters out of their events. Maybe some of you were there. Good citizens, good Americans, don't run around wantonly and intentionally breaking the law. Unless, of course, they're taking a stand. Unless they're taking a stand. They go and they chain themselves to the courthouse door, or they have a sit-down protest or whatever. Those people know that the law is going to come in. The law is going to arrest them, going to handcuff them, going to take them off to jail, going to charge them, may prosecute them. They know that. And they do it anyway because they're taking a stand. It's called civil disobedience. It's all American. Cockfighters run. Am I done?
No, you have still 30 seconds.
Cockfighters run. In my experience, in my personal experience, cockfighters run. If you believe in what you say you believe in, then stand for it. I'll give it to Mr. Kozad. He is here today standing for it. And you're here to be a part of it. There is some respect in me for that, even though I disagree with you. Even though you're breaking the law by doing it. Good, let's have that dialogue. But let's not break the law.
Okay. I was fixing to move on to the Fourth Amendment, but since you brought up that America's not a theocracy, if it's not, then quit trying to force your religious belief of paganism on me. Okay? Again, this is a communist government. When the government can take away your God-given rights of dominion away from of the animals, then the government has set itself up to be your ruler, the source of your rights. This is paganism, socialism, fascism, communism, monarchy, oligarchy, dictatorship. That's the only forms of government that can have animal rights. Adolf Hitler used the same animal rights laws to destroy human rights in Nazi Germany. Once he had reduced, in that research paper by Boria Sachs, who I talked to, Boria Sachs and Arnold Luke, it's called Understanding Nazi Animal Protections in the Holocaust, state outright that the reason Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany enacted the animal rights laws was to reduce man to the status of animals. Once you reduce man to the status of animals, then the government becomes the source of your rights. You are a government-owned animal. And then, once you are a government-owned animal, just like this portrays, you are down here. And then the government, just like Adolf Hitler did, can go out and euthanize 6 million Jewish people because Hitler in his eyes, they were inferior animals. And he was removing them and culling them from the government herd. I'll go into the Fourth Amendment, the next one.
So given your anti-Semitic posts, I am stunned, happy, but stunned nonetheless, to find out that you are now defending Jews.
I always have.
If I had a hat, sir, it would be off to you. As to the author that you spoke to, interesting, it was the other guy. Do you have his comments in writing? Because I have the first author's comments in writing, and he calls you a lunatic. If anybody wants to see it later, I'll be more than happy to show you. Paganism. Come on. You know, if I thought you people looked stupid, I'd tell you to your face. You don't look stupid to me. You believe in this hogwash? He picks up his little diagram here and shows it to you like you're just going to eat it up. What part of what I've said today about this being illegal is not clear? Or if you want to argue about it later on, by all means. But come on, you know it is. You may not agree with it, but you know it is. And my point is that it's not an accident. It's not communists, it's not Nazis, it's just the law, our law. That's really the whole point I have to make here today. The main point to make about. Now we get into the whole cockfighting thing in more detail, but you're going to claim whatever you're going to claim about cockfighting. I've been to the cockfights. We've filmed the cockfights. I've seen them. Oh, they'll naturally kill each other. Well, I can show you people who will naturally kill each other. Lots of different animal species that will naturally kill each other. We don't put weapons on them. We don't encourage them. We don't put them into a fight where one goes down. I'm going to get into the cockfight. I can't wait for him. He's not going to do it. Where one goes down, and so you pick them up. Or they turn their back. They're done fighting. And you pick them up and you put them back face to face. Am I lying? Am I lying?
Yes.
No, I'm not. Because you can say yes. Because I'm going to put the videos up and I'm going to show it.
One turns their back, they won't fight no more.
Hey, it's okay.
Okay, we'll talk afterward. I'll be here. Those videos going up anyway. So that's the part we can argue about, but he's not even bringing that up. He's handing you this hogwash. And I'm telling you that that's illegal across the country. Take a stand. Take a real stand otherwise. When you're at the cockfight and they're busting them, stand there and take it. Make your argument. What I don't respect is when people are doing something that they say they believe in, but they run out. Same thing with rodeos. If I catch somebody shocking a horse after they claim they don't do it, and he's trying to hide the electric prod, I have a problem with that. Don't you? Well, that rule applies to everybody evenly.
Okay. Your emotions don't outweigh my God-given constitutionally protected rights. You better wake up and realize that. The Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. The Fourth Amendment is written to protect the privacy of each individual. Okay. Whenever I grew up, it was fully understood that a man's home is his castle. The man is the king of his castle and possesses all God-given dominion over the property that he owns, whether it's a barn, house, etc. What we have to understand is a warrant. A warrant means that a judge, another man, is signing a piece of paper that empowers the government to invade your private property, to invade your home, to search your person, to search your vehicle. I don't care if he's a judge or not. Who is another man to sign a piece of paper to invade my privacy and the Fourth Amendment protections of my home using the excuse of protecting a chicken. The only way they can do that is if the judge, or if the government, or if the individuals, the majority, have decided that the chickens take priority above my human rights. Human rights protected by the Fourth Amendment. The right to privacy, the right to be in my home without having to worry about government intrusion and government invasion and somebody kicking in my door. Somebody pointing a gun at me inside of my own property. And they're doing it because government agents have been convinced that their job is to protect chickens based upon the emotions of people like Mr. Henry. His emotions do not supersede my rights. He's entitled to his opinion, but his opinion doesn't supersede mine.
Yours? Emotions. Is that what you see in my eyes today, is emotions? Is that what you see? I think that if I'd been crying in those cockfights, oh, the poor roosters, I think I would have been noticed. There's no crying going on. You haven't looked into my background very much, have you, BL? Fourth Amendment. Home is castle. Home is castle. Unless, of course, you're making drugs in it, or holding prostitution, committing prostitution inside of it. That happens. Then the home is kind of no longer your castle. It's a criminal network. And the same thing applies to cockfighting. Yes, your home is your castle. If you're a law-abiding American, your home is your castle. It should always remain that way. But when you start breaking the law, you sacrifice that right. You sacrifice that. Because the police and they'll have to enforce the law. There's a law. You have to abide by it. The judges, apparently, Mr. Kozad thinks that the judges should be out of jobs. Because now he's going to determine what a judge can sign an arrest warrant for, a search warrant, a complaint, charges. Come on. Is that really what we're looking for in this country? Mr. Kozad, you said I was going to be wowed today. I was really going to be wowed. The only thing I'm wowed about so far, sir, is you're trotting out the same tired stuff you've been trotting out for years. Was there something new? If so, please bring it out.
Okay, well, your background and looking into you, partner, I really don't care about you, so, and you don't matter to me, so I'm not interested in looking into you. Next is laws. Okay, laws that are in pursuance of the Constitution, are valid. Laws that are in pursuance of the Constitution protect one man's rights from another man. They don't violate one man's rights, trying to force that man into someone else's opinion of a chicken. The Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject to the same offense or to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. What is private property? Everything that you own, everything you have ownership of, the animals, the fish, the fowl, the earth, your life, your liberty, your individual pursuit of happiness, all of these are private property. Everything that you possess, even your dreams and your ideas, are private property. That's why you have intellectual protections of your intellectual property rights. If you are not infringing on another person's property rights, then you have the God-given constitutionally protected right to use your property any way that serves your best interest to earn a living and provide for your family. And if the government thinks it can take away your ability to earn a living and provide for your family using the excuse of a chicken, then that is a communist government. Because they have put the chickens above your life and above your family. Go ahead.
The communists put chickens above human life. I thought that was the Nazis. I guess we get back to that communist Nazi thing. Look, if you don't like the law, change it. How many times have I heard that over the last 30 plus years? You don't like the law, man, change it. You don't like the law, man, change it. But what you don't do is start rolling off these cockamamie, reading, and making your interpretation of it. What does it get you? They actually gave this guy money to come here and do this. I know he was raising money. He's been trying to raise money a lot of ways. He's got his book, but you got his book. You want to buy his book, and he raises money when he goes somewhere, and he had an organization, or still has an United Rural Animal Industries and Sportsmen Association. How's that working out, BL? And BL, when you were active in the industry, and it was legal, whether I liked it or not, it was legal at that time. Kind of like slavery was legal and now it's not legal, or smoking in a building was legal and now it's not legal. When it was legal, BL, I'm just curious, what were the big events that you won? Because based on what I've been able to tell, you weren't even very good at it. Which now leads me to believe that since you weren't very good at it, now there's another way to make money. That's by raising money to come to things like this and be the big man supporting cockfighting. Show them your little homemade graphs and read. Come on, you guys, are you buying this? I see some of you smirking. Maybe you're laughing at me. I'm laughing at him. Again, if I thought you all were stupid, I would tell you. I would relish it. I was hoping. Well, you're not all stupid. Not all, not by a long shot. Come on, you can't be buying this crap.
Okay, finishing up private property, Fifth Amendment. Private property taken by the government must serve a justifiable public use. In criminal cases, the Fifth Amendment guarantees the right to a grand jury, forbids double jeopardy, and protects self-incrimination. It also requires a due process of law be part of any proceeding that denies a citizen of life, liberty, or property, and requires the government to compensate citizens when it takes private property for public use. When they take our chickens, they're not taking our chickens for public use. So they criminalize the use of our property. Monterey versus Del Monte Dunes Supreme Court decision even attests that when the government enacts a law depriving us of the use of our private property, as it says in that decision, deprivation of use of property is a regulatory taking of property that must include compensation in accordance with the Fifth Amendment. And upon Palazzolo's Supreme Court decision, it says that there is no statute of limitations on a Fifth Amendment takings claim. So what we have to understand is that the law if a law is enacted and it's unconstitutional, it's not unconstitutional from the time that a judge says, oh, this law is unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional from the day it was passed, the day that it was enacted. Ownership of property includes the right to exercise control of property, dispose of property, and make full and most beneficial use of property by the owner. Deprivation of use of property is a regulatory taking entitled to a Fifth Amendment takings claim. As the President and Founding Father John Adams said, property must be secured or liberty cannot exist. property is surely a right of mankind as real as liberty.
I've changed my mind. I just changed my mind. That reading did it. I changed my mind. I think he's spot on. It's like that law professor that said, you know what, you're right. I think he's absolutely right. And in response, I think that every single one of you, when the police show up next time, don't go running out. Don't go running out. Every one of you stand up and say, it's my right. You're violating my first and second, I believe it was the fourth and fifth, 8th, 9th, 10th, through the 14th amendments. That's what I'm saying. If you don't believe it, if you don't believe that what you're doing is wrong, if you believe what you're doing is legal, he's telling you that you've got a right, that your rights are being violated. So stand and take the heat. Are you going to do that? If you're going to do it from now on, well, we'll see what it gets you. Because that's what he's telling you. He's telling you, stand up. Stand up to the man. He hasn't done it. He hasn't gotten arrested for cockfighting or anything like that, right? I mean, but he wants you to do it. How convenient. Jesus, people. In a way, I'm more on your side than he is. I'll at least tell you the truth.
Actually, on December 7th, 2009, I put a full-page ad in the fourth largest newspaper in the state of Oklahoma. The ad said, my name is B.L. Kozad. All gamecocks for the only purpose you can own gamecocks, which is to harvest gamecocks. And the method of harvesting gamecocks is competing one gamecock against another gamecock in an equally matched competition, parentheses, cockfighter. My government does not have the authority to make raids, rip my family apart, point guns at me, and create situations where government agents may kill me using the excuse that the duty of the government is protecting the chickens I own from me. Now I put that ad in the newspaper. In 2000, I've been on 4 TV interviews in Oklahoma. I've been on 2 national TV programs. I've been in running newspaper ads all over the state of Oklahoma. Been on 2 national radio programs. I go to the state Republican convention in Oklahoma, a very prominent Republican state. I go through the debates, the gubernatorial debates between candidates for governor. I don't mince words with senators or representatives or anyone else. Last year, or year before last, when I was leaving the state Republican Party convention, a very prominent individual there that knows me, knows I've been going for 12 or 14 years to the state convention for the Republican Party, said, hey, BL, you didn't go to the microphone and speak this year because they're so familiar with me going to the microphone and speaking that they just expect me to. I don't run and hide from this argument because what I'm saying is true. What I'm saying is correct. And when the guy said that, I told him, I said, look, I didn't have to go to the microphone. I actually went, but I said the woman that was directly in front of me said everything that I wanted to say, so I didn't feel the need to repeat it, so I went ahead and sat down. This is an argument we can win, because this is an argument of human rights and the Constitution versus communist controls and a chicken. Depriving you of your rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, your culture, your heritage, your agriculture industry, your private property rights, destroying your home, destroying your families using the excuse that chickens take priority. We can win the argument. But you gotta stand up and make the argument.
You have to stand up and make the argument. Okay, all right. He took an ad in the newspaper, and he said, I'm a cockfighter. I can take an ad in the newspaper and say I'm a cockfighter. I can say I'm Elvis. I can say I shot John Kennedy. I don't necessarily make it so. There's this thing in court cases called evidence. If you don't have it, nothing's going to happen. He says he's gone to the mic. You know, BL, I think that, you know, people have heard you go on to the mic plenty of times. They consider you to be a kook. So do I. That's why they didn't prosecute you here, because they didn't think you were, when they actually looked at you, they just found you to be kind of a pitiful human being. But, BL, if you really believe in what you're talking about, for that matter, anybody else here believes in what they're doing, and they're willing to make a stand, give me the schedules. Give me the cockfighting schedules. Any of you. Give me the cockfighting schedules. I'll come. I'll film it. I've already said I'll talk to you. I don't care if it's at a cockfighting pit or if it's here. If somebody calls me on the phone in a civil, I've talked to rodeo people for years and years. Some of us have almost become friends. So if you believe in it, like I said before, take a stand. That's what he's telling you to do. Writing something up, what is that? There's too much writing stuff up today on social media. Somebody takes a stand by writing something up. Come on. I've been arrested for civil disobedience. Probably will be in the future. That's what you do. It's a nonviolent means of standing up for what you believe in. He hasn't done it. He takes out an ad. What does the ad do? Puts his name out there, B.L. Kozad. Wow. Donald Trump did that, put his name out there, he buys a lot of airtime, got him presidency. Maybe he'll give you something, BL. But I'm saying, I wonder how many of you have been in the military. I bet it's been a number of you. You know what it is to take a stand. That's taking a stand. That's something that's why all Americans respect that. It feels good that they respect it, doesn't it? You deserve it. This, when you run and hide, nobody respects that. You understand that. If I make a claim, but then I'm not going to stand here after this is over with, so you can talk to me, you don't respect that, which is why I'm going to stay. How much money did you get to come here today, DL? How much did you get? I got that much. I got that much, okay? I've been getting that much for over 30 years because I believe in it. Is there some emotion? Sure, but I believe in it. Does he? I'll give some next time.
Now, next is the Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment, excessive bail says the excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Let me ask you, who is another man, even if they're a government official, who is another man to punish you over chickens that you own? Or to punish you over the property that you own all dominion and ownership rights of? The only way another man can punish you over a chicken that you own is if that other man puts a higher value on his personal opinion in a chicken than your human rights and even your life. Because that other man advocates and wants to send government agents out to forcefully make you comply with his opinion. And every time government agents enforce any law, they create situations where they're going to use force. That force always includes the possibility of deadly force. And even if it's by accident, government agents can kill people while enforcing a law. And now, Mr. Hendy is wanting government agents to go out and potentially kill people to force farmers and ranchers into his opinion regarding chickens. That's a violation of the 8th Amendment. Cruel, unusual, and excessive punishment. Who is he to try to punish me over chickens that I own? Who is he to try to empower the government to come out and punish me for him? He doesn't have that authority. The Constitution ensures that the protections of my rights are protected from him and his opinion.
I'm a government agent? Me? Let me check. Well, yeah, you're the one with the gun. I got no gun. I got no badge. I'm not trying to pretend that I'm somebody that I'm not. Anybody noticing here that he's just got his presentation? He's not talking to you. He's presenting to you. I'm talking to you. I'll stay and talk to you. He's just giving you a presentation. He's raising the same damn stuff, and I'm not going to waste your time with it. I've already answered that. I think I've answered it well, and he's got no counter.
The 9th Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage other rights retained or others retained by the people. I'm a people. I'm an individual. Okay, the Constitution protects my unenumerated rights. See, unenumerated rights are rights that are not written into the Constitution. The 9th Amendment was actually authored mostly by basically standalone by James Madison. It was his attempt to ensure that the Bill of Rights was not seen as granting rights to the people of the United States, only the specific rights that were addressed in the Constitution. In reality, the 9th Amendment affirms the existence of such unenumerated rights that are not specifically addressed by the Bill of Rights. In other words, those rights that are not written down. You have the right to breathe. You have the right to your own ideas, your own freedoms, your own liberties, etc. Those are rights that are not specifically written into the Constitution, but those rights still exist are as protected by the Constitution as if they were written down. All of the 9th Amendment, all of the vast number of rights under the universe are ours. Many of these rights are unenumerated rights. All of these God-given rights are retained by the people. Well, I'm a people, and so are you. We're all individuals. These rights are unlimited, and the courts have very seldom been asked to address the individual rights that are protected by the 9th Amendment. What you need to understand and what we need to think about is, does the government actually have the authority to violate these unenumerated rights, these unwritten rights that are also included by the 9th Amendment, using the excuse of a chicken? If they do, then the chicken takes priority above our human rights. And that is absolutely a communist country.
Does the government have the right to violate your rights? That's what he asked. No, they do not. The government does not have that right. On that, we can agree. The problem is that this has been looked at, again, not to belabor it, by governors, by legislators, by judges, and decisions have been made. They've been made politically, in some cases, but they've been made legally, too. Because governors and legislators may do things for political reasons, but when it gets into the courts, then they look at the wording. How was that law, or how was that Constitution written, and what did it mean? And it's gotten by all of that. And all of it has come out with cockfighting being illegal. Rights and responsibilities. You have inalienable rights. Thank God that we are Americans. But with those rights come responsibilities. Does anybody disagree with that? You have your rights, but you have responsibilities. And if you break the law, whatever it is, if you wantonly break the law, then those rights are compromised to a degree. Your safety, your safety. Yes, the police may hurt you. Whatever the law is that you're breaking, your freedom is compromised. This is something that as Americans we all have to accept. Otherwise, everybody gets to just do whatever they want to do. Like, they can commit bestiality. Are you pro-bestiality? Come on. You're not. One head shake. I'm not going to point the person out, but you're all shaking your heads inside. No, I'm not pro-bestiality. You know who thinks bestiality is quite all right? Quite legal? Him. Well, don't say no. I've got you on tape. Okay. When you're up next, I'm going to pull it out. I'll be happy to listen. Just a few days ago, he said bestiality. Not unconstitutional. No law against it. There should be no law against it. Again, he's making a presentation and I'm talking to you.
Okay, the other day when I talked to him about Peter Singer. See, Peter Singer is actually the father of the animal rights movement. He is a professor of college at Princeton University. Peter Singer advocates that the laws against bestiality, that sex with animals, should be legal. Now that's the father of the animal rights movement, and that's what I told him on the phone the other day. I don't know how they vetted it, I don't care. Okay? Peter Singer, the father of the animal rights movement, has stated that bestiality should be legal, and that in order to achieve the goal of legalized bestiality, Peter Singer advocates to do away with the Judeo-Christian foundations of America. Why? Because in order to achieve their goal of bestiality, they have to get rid of God. They have to get rid of Christianity. The 10th Amendment says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Now, we need to understand that the only honest purpose of forming any government is to protect the rights of the individual from the majority that would form groups and alliances to take what the more industrious has made for ourselves and take it away from us and our families, or to destroy our rights. We all have, he said we have a responsibility. Yes, we do. We have a responsibility to stand up for our rights, to stand up for our freedoms, for our lives, for our liberties, for our pursuit of happiness. We have a responsibility to stand up for those things because we have a responsibility to pass along those life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, culture, heritage, and our freedoms. We have to pass those rights along to our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren the way they were passed to us from our ancestors, from our fathers, and our grandfathers, and our great-grandfathers. They gave us the freedoms and the liberties. They fought, our founding fathers fought and died. They gave their lives for the freedoms, for the right to create a constitution that would protect our rights, to ensure that we had our God-given rights. And they're taking those things away from us. So yes, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to stand up and ensure that we protect and pass along to our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren the same rights that were given to us.
Stand up for rights. Something he doesn't do. He takes out ads. Doesn't stand up for his rights. And I'm okay with it if you do. By God, if you believe it, if you actually believe that cockfighting is one of your God-given rights, you as an American should stand up for it. Don't run. Stand up for it. I believe that. And the battle will be joined between the two or more sides, and in the great American tradition of back and forth, there will be an outcome. I'm good with that. I really am. Peter Singer, the father of what? Whatever he's the father of. Peter Singer, I mean, I don't know if he understands this, but, you know, animal protection goes way back. Peter Singer's alive today. It goes way back. Peter Singer's not even from the United States. I've never met Peter Singer. I don't care about Peter Singer. I don't know what he's talking about. I really don't know what he's talking about. What I do know about is that Mr. Kozad said that bestiality, any laws against bestiality are unconstitutional, and only with, where'd my moderator go? I got to talk to him. Can I play this video? I guess I can. He's not here. This is B.L. Kozad in a conversation with my associate just a few days ago, saying that bestiality is okay.
Including bestiality.
Did anybody hear that?
And so any law involving any sort of protection of an animal is against the Constitution. Including the bestiality.
And he said, do you want to hear it, B.L.? It's not it. It's the whole thing.
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't need to hear what you
All right. You heard it, right? You heard it. He said it. Is that okay with you? I don't know. What I'm saying is that, okay, if he thinks it's okay to bestiality, have that fight. Have that fight. But what he's doing is he's telling you that you ought to be standing, you ought to be taking the heat over it, and he hasn't taken any. That's, you know, I've seen people in animal protection pull that garbage too. Listen, you guys are not the only ones that got whack jobs on your side. I've seen it. I've seen the people who pilfer money for animal protection, just like some people pilfer it for cockfighting. It's ugly. That's just what people do. I'm sorry. Thanks.
Again, I say the same thing. Bestiality, I don't care. That's for somebody else to fight, some pervert. Okay? I'm here to fight about the cockfighting issue, which is unconstitutional, violation of our human rights. Now, again, the 10th Amendment. Rights reserved to the people. The government has a duty to protect the rights of the minority group from the majority. Understand, the majority do not need the protections of a constitution. They're the majority. They can vote in whatever law they want to. But America is not a socialist democracy where the majority can dictate the rights of the minority. America is a constitutional republic where the rights of the minority are protected from the majority. That's the entire purpose of the Constitution. Say that the majority can vote in a law that says cockfighting is illegal. They can vote that law in. That does not mean that law is constitutional. Because the Constitution is written to protect the God-given rights of the minority from the majority. And the lowest number of any minority group, 1. And thus, the purpose of the Constitution is to protect the God-given rights of the individual from the government. And by doing so, it protects the God-given rights of the individual from the abusive and tyrannical power of the government. How abusive and tyrannical is it when the government comes out and points a gun at you over a chicken that you own? The only way they do that is when the government puts a higher value on the chicken than they do your human rights and your human life.
You mentioned socialism. He goes to that a lot, socialism. Anybody here on Social Security? Disability? Anybody on disability in this room? Bill, you talk pretty loud. I heard you mention it earlier. What is that? You understand those are socialist programs? We have some socialism in this country, and there's been a lot of people that have been able to stay afloat because of it. I suspect some of them in this very room. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. I want you all to stay afloat. In fact, I want you to do better than stay afloat. I want you to thrive, because you're Americans. I want you all to thrive. What I don't want you to do is commit acts of cruelty, especially when they're illegal. Now, the cruelty is my opinion. Cockfighting laws are laws. And he just goes on making this presentation. And I was supposed to be really wowed with it. He was putting in phone calls, he's putting it in posts. Ha, ha, ha. Are you in for it on September 6th? And ha, ha, ha. It does ha, ha, ha. It's funny. I do get a kick out of it. People, I'm just here to talk to you today. I wish he would talk to you too, and I wish he'd talk to you about cockfighting instead of reading off amendments that you could do on your own. But I'll be here to talk about cockfighting after we're done. And maybe at some point we'll get BL, at some point in the future we'll get him to talk about it too. Are you stupid? You can read those amendments on your own. You came here to listen to somebody read amendments to you. I'm trying not to waste your time. I hope at least, if I'm not sparking just pure fury in you, then maybe I'm sparking some kind of desire for dialogue or whatever it is. Maybe you'll come and challenge me to come to you on a cockfight night. I wish you would, because I'm all up for that. Challenging BL to give me the schedule, or any one of you, if you believe in what you say you believe in. Otherwise, if you're not, am I really a bad guy here? Really? Which amendment this time?
The brilliance of our founding fathers. Guys, the more you study the Constitution and founding of America, the more reverence that you will have for the intelligence that our founding fathers had. The 10th Amendment ensures that the states have the duty to stand against and stop federal violations of our rights, in particular the Bill of Rights, but it is the federal government's duty to do the same thing, to stop the state governments from violating our rights. Most of our elected officials do not understand that they take an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and they don't really understand what the Constitution says, or what the Constitution means. Now, Mr. Henry's talking about my what we're doing, and talks about the cockfighting industry. Something that he's very emotionally based about, because he doesn't like it. He wants it to be criminalized. He wants it to be stopped. He wants you to be forced into his opinion. The good thing is the Constitution ensures and protects his right to have his opinion. But that's all it is, his opinion. And his opinion does not supersede my opinion, and it damn sure does not supersede my God-given, constitutionally protected rights, because he does not have the authority to supersede God and take my rights away from me. My government officials do not have that right either, unless the government is setting itself up and wants to pretend that it has superseded God and taken my rights away from me, because the government has chosen to set itself up to be the source of my rights. And America is not founded on that concept. America is founded as a constitutional republic where my rights derived from my Creator are guaranteed, protected, and security. And government and Mr. Hindy do not have the authority to supersede God. They do not have the authority to violate my rights. And I wish he would learn that. He has one option in this. If he doesn't like cockfighting, shut up and stay at home. Don't attend the events. Just mind your own business. And there are too many people in America today, like Mr. Hindy, that want to use the government to force people into their opinion. And that is truly sad, because that's where socialism comes in. And all these little people protesting in these urban centers and things that are overly spoiled kids because they're crying because they can't get their way and the government won't do what they want them to do. That's Mr. Henry.
You know, let me say again, illegal in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and most recently the territories, at the behest, the latter at the behest of Donald J. Trump. The only one that's crybabying about it here today is you. Asked and answered many, many times. Anything new? Jeez, I'm falling asleep over there. If y'all had tested on this later, how you gonna do with his rant?
In fact, okay, under Title 7, Chapter 50, Subchapter 4, Section 2003 of the United States Agriculture Code and federal laws, it gives the status or the what a socially disadvantaged farmer and rancher is. Now, specifically, it says that the socially disadvantaged farmer and rancher are people that have experienced discrimination based on sex or race or ethnicity. And it gives a definition of ethnicity as people that are discriminated against because of cultural traditions, social groups that they operate within. That's the gamecock farmers. Our cultural traditions, a social group. We're a minority group. Even the federal government in the agriculture codes here have recognized that we are a minority group. We are socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. If we are socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers, then inside of our court system, we're entitled to strict scrutiny standards of judicial review. That means the government must prove a significant and compelling governmental interest to infringe on our rights. And even under the Supreme Court decisions, various Supreme Court decisions, it says that if the government finds a reason to infringe on your rights, that even if they do find a reason, a compelling and significant governmental justification, they must infringe on your rights in the least intrusive manner. You hear all the discussion, oh, there's drugs in the car. Well, there's drugs in a football game. But you don't criminalize a football game because somebody at the football game might have drugs. They're two separate events. So, therefore, the gamecock farmers, we're entitled to equal protection of the law under the 14th Amendment. If you cannot criminalize a football game because somebody at the may have drugs at the football game, then you can't criminalize a cockfight because somebody might have drugs at a cockfight. Understand, this is our rights. We need to stand up. We need to educate ourselves, and then we can fight for our rights.
We all mentioned people protesting in rural areas. Soiled something. Wasn't positive, whatever he said. BL, you talking about people with the same color skin as us or something a little different? Just curious. But also, that minority group he's talking about, which he says y'all are in, where there's minority group programs. Sounds like socialism to me. As for the rest of it, if I get up and I say asked and answered, It's because cockfighting is illegal in all 50 states and DC and the territories, and that's what he's bringing up again. Asked and answered means that. I don't want to waste more of your time. Thank you.
And finally, the 14th Amendment, equal protection of the law. The incorporation doctrine, as applied to the states, ensures that the state can no more violate the Bill of Rights than the federal government can, because the 14th Amendment has applied the protections and guarantees of the Bill of Rights to each state as a part of the compact of joining the federal union. Now, there are many Supreme Court decisions that attest to the fact that even your states, even your local city councils, your county cannot pass laws that are in violation of the Constitution of the United States. Article 6, paragraph 2 of the Constitution is a supremacy clause. It says that any law that is in conflict with the Constitution cannot withstand. And unconstitutional laws criminalize the gamecock industry, the harvest of gamecocks by the traditional, sporting, and commercial method of harvest are unconstitutional. And any law that is in conflict with that is unconstitutional is invalid and illegal. The enforcement of an illegal law is an illegal violation of your rights by the government. You need to realize that, and you need to recognize that fighting, because these laws are unconstitutional, as I've explained it today, cockfighting cannot be a crime. And the laws that we're running from are actually just an invalid violation of our human rights.
Asked and answered, and again, I encourage you, if you choose to go down that path, the answer is simple: stand. Don't run. Stand. Are we doing finishing any finish up maybe? When do we wind up? How do we do this? You're the narrator.
It's up to you.
All right.
Give it about three more constitutional debate questions here.
I think we're trying to Constitution.
And she said she told the Constitution bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
There's no way we can call it. Okay, I'm good. I got no big. No, we're gonna take a break.
In about 5 minutes or 10 minutes, we'll be open. Okay. I'm going to read something here to you. A law repugnant to the Constitution is void. An act of Congress repugnant to the Constitution cannot become a law. The Constitution supersedes all other laws, and the individual's rights will be liberally enforced in favor of him, the individual. The clearly intended and expressly designated beneficiary. You are that beneficiary. This is a quote from the United States Supreme Court in the case of Marbury versus Madison in 1803. Back when our founding fathers, the guys that wrote the Constitution, actually understood the Constitution. No one is bound to obey an unconstitutional law, and no courts are bound to enforce it. The general rule is that an unconstitutional statute, whether federal or state, though having the form and name of law, is in reality no law, but is wholly void and ineffective for any purpose, since unconstitutionality dates from the time of its enactment and not merely from the date of the decision so branding it unconstitutional. An unconstitutional law in legal contemplation is as inoperative as if it had never been passed. That's taken out of the American Jurisprudence Manual, section 256. An unconstitutional law is void and is no law. And an offense created by it is not a crime. A conviction under it is not merely erroneous, but is illegal and void and cannot be used as a legal cause of imprisonment. That's ex parte in Cybo in 100 U.S. 371, written in 1879. Again, back whenever our judges had a better understanding of the Constitution. An unconstitutional law, an unconstitutional act is not law. It confers no rights. It imposes no duties, affords no protection. It creates no office. It is in legal contemplation as inoperative as though it had never been passed. United States Supreme Court decision in Norton versus Shelby County in 1886. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate them. United States Supreme Court, Miranda versus Arizona, 1966. How many of you have heard of your Miranda rights that you have to be read? Okay, if those rights apply today, you have to be Mirandized. Understand, this is the Constitution. This is what the courts are telling us. These are our rights.
I found it. I think I had it with me. United States of America versus Hector Cruz, United States District Court, Southern District of New York. Quotes from the decision. He, Cruz, argues that the statute under which he is charged infringes the, quote, God-given rights of New York's gamecock farmers, unquote, and that its enforcement violates the, quote, 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 14th Amendments. Does that sound familiar? Cruz repeatedly asserts in an apparent biblical reference that God gave man dominion, control, and rule over the earth, animals, fish, and fowl, and our Constitution is written to ensure that each person is equal in the freedom and exercise of our God-given rights as each individual chooses to believe these rights exist. This is important. This argument has no merit. None of Cruz's other constitutional arguments establish that the U.S. Constitution provides gamecock farmers, or anyone else for that matter, a right to attend or participate in animal fighting displays. They don't say cockfighting, they say any animal fighting displays. Cruz's arguments include his claims that American gamecock farmers and ranchers are a population subgroup deserving of minority status based on our cultural tradition and heritage. We, meaning the court, are unaware of a single case or doctrine that would suggest the statute he challenges violates the Constitution. Defendant argues the government is unconstitutionally encroaching upon its First Amendment religious beliefs, blah, blah, blah. The court finds that the federal statute at issue does not unconstitutionally encroach upon its First Amendment rights. Again, people asked and answered.
What he doesn't know is I helped Hector. Okay? Yeah, Hector went to court. He filed these documents, motion to dismiss, and I helped him with some things. Then Hector went down, and some of you may know Hector online, Hector Cruz. He's the one that was involved with Tommy up in New York. Once he went to court, though, and filed the motions and filed the information, then he went and pled guilty. He pled guilty, okay? And then once he had pled guilty, the very next day he went down and tried to withdraw his plea agreement. The motions that I wrote were actually forwarded by the federal judge, were forwarded to the United States Department of Justice under Eric Holder. And the response that came back from the United States Department of Justice was, Mr. Cruz has pled guilty. Do not attempt to answer the arguments in the motion to dismiss. Now, they're telling the judge, do not attempt to answer the arguments made in the motion to dismiss. Simply deny Mr. Cruz the right to withdraw his appeal or withdraw his plea agreement and sentence him. And that's what happened. The judge would not deny his motion to withdraw his plea agreement, found him guilty, and made it and sentenced him according to the plea agreement. So all of that is bull. Okay?
I know Hector, that's what he says. You know, as I was reading this, and I'm looking at him, you think I don't know that you know Hector? you think that he came up with this just all on his own? That's what you think I think? Come on. Come on. He says they were told to simply deny. They didn't simply deny. I'm not reading this out of a cloud somewhere. They didn't simply deny. They took a stand. I mean, you can find the stuff for yourself. I'll supply it for you. They didn't just deny it.
Oh yeah, they did.
Hey, why are you trying to bamboozle your own people? That's not right.
Now, those of you that know Hector, get him on Facebook and something, message him, talk to him, call him. I got his phone number. You can call and ask him for yourself. Okay. What's going on today is a violation of our human rights. It's a violation of the Constitution. And it's all based upon the emotions of Mr. Hindi and other groups like him that actually want to force communism on the people of the United States. That's what's really going on. And I encourage all of you, as soon as this debate is over, then I'm going to start into a briefing. And I'm going to go through a slide presentation that explains exactly where all of these animal rights laws come from, who's behind them, and how they're all tied to the UN Agenda 21 and the Green New Deal. Okay? Anyone have any? Do you have anything?
And don't forget to buy his book.
Anyone have any? I appreciate everybody coming. Please stick around. We're going to take about 15-minute break. Then we're going to come back and I'm going to get everything set up and start to do the presentation. Thank you.